Good evening. It is time for us to go freewheeling once more. I am Siddharth Vinayak Partnkar. Thank you for joining me. And as always, the whole idea here on the show is for us to get talking with someone who, well, we want to hear a lot from. And so today, my guest is someone who has spent many years at Toyota Kirloskar Motor, is what you would call an old hand at Toyota, knows the company and its workings and its products inside out. So without much further ado, I'm welcoming onto the show Naveen Soni. Naveen San, it's great to see you.
Hi, same here. Always a pleasure.
Always is. And, I have to share with our viewers just now that I know we were sort of planning to do this for a while. So I'm glad it's worked out today. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time.
Much appreciated. Yeah.
Tough times, crazy times. I think that's all been often discussed. So I won't get into the negative side of it. But let's start off with just understanding from you how it's been for you personally.
Well, I think it's a difficult call, but I think this is a new way of learning and engaging not only with our customers, with our stakeholders, more importantly with our own employees. Because this is something that manufacturing industry was never used to. Working from home. And
Yes.
so it was the first time for us. People were talking to us, how will we manage this kind of an environment? I used to always wonder, in the previous days, before COVID, I used to have these IT friends, lots of them in Bangalore, and they would be sitting in one corner in a meeting room, or while we're having dinner, they'll just say, I'll take this call, step aside, and then he'll be doing the meeting. And you don't know whether he's engaged in the meeting when he comes back on the table or no. But now these are things that are coming as realities to us, and we are also learning the tricks of the trade. I think it's interesting. Every day is a new day. Every day is a new learning. Yeah. So from that point of view, I think it's a very interesting times and learning times, I would say.
Oh,
Positive.
absolutely, absolutely right. And in fact, I think all of us are in the same boat because everything has kind of gone on its head, and we're relearning or rewriting the rules. But you know what? I have to say the challenge has been interesting. Without such a, I wish it wasn't for such an unfortunate reason, but at least we are sort of learning a lot from it and hopefully take some of that away with us. At Toyota, we've been, of course, monitoring all the news that's been coming out of the company. I know that you've even had, the plant restarting, then of course the plant again shutting down for a while because you wanted to ensure the safety of the workers.
Yeah.
What is the update currently?
Okay, Bangalore had a shutdown for about 7 days, as you know. It just got over today.
Yes.
But what actually happened was that when the lockdown was announced, we presumed that it was, as the government decided, it would be a complete lockdown. So we had gone and announced the lockdown per se from day two of, from day one of when the lockdown was to be announced 1 week ago. Suddenly, in the afternoon or evening, we received some positive news coming from the government saying that that in case your factory is outside Bangalore, which it is for us, and also if it has transportation facilities available for workmen to travel, which we do provide. So then in that case, they said that yes, you could keep your plants open.
Right.
When we reached out to, when we got this information, there was already, a substantial time difference between when we had announced it. So people had planned their, journeys back home. And, most of our workmen come from surrounding villages and, areas. So obviously when there is a 7 day break coming up, so obviously they had planned so many things and some of them had actually moved on with that plans also. So we took a conscious call that safety point of view, we need to be sure that that workmen when they come back they are in safe condition. So we request them that from Monday onwards, so that is 2 days in advance of the lockdown actually opening, which is today.
Hmm.
So Monday onwards we restarted the facility,
Right.
and yeah, production is happening now. We are very happy that the engines are roaring.
Yes, I think that's the part many of us were sort of just wanting to or itching to get back to because it gives you a sense of being normal again. Um,
Yeah.
but obviously things will take a while before we ramp up to, let's say, full
Yeah.
scale, etc. Uh, when that happens, and I'm not going to ask you for a date because none of us
Yeah.
knows that date. What's the primary focus going to be for Toyota?
Well, I think throughout this journey, the most important thing is to make sure that the customer is deeply engaged. Because let me give you an example. We monitor two kind of things at the dealerships when we have a daily meeting.
Hmm.
One is the absolute number of dealerships that are open, which is in terms of quantity, and the second one is what is happening inside those dealerships. So we have defined some KPIs in terms of what are the level of inquiries as compared to two parameters, last month
Right.
and last year.
Right.
Okay. Because last month gives you a sense of whether it is moving positively when we are coming out of this crisis, and I believe we are in the recovery mode. And last year is to give a sense of what is the upper ceiling that we have to cross.
Right.
So from that point of view, just to narrate some numbers to you, basically at this point of time, as we speak, the fluctuations is a worrying part, But as we speak, 83% of my dealerships are open, which means 17% are shut down.
Yeah.
Last month, same time was 6%. Okay.
Yeah, it's quite
Certainly,
a
there's a
change.
whole state of Bihar which is shutting down. There are northeast cities which are shutting down. Karnataka was shut down till yesterday. So these things happen. So as compared to last month, yes, the situation seems to have deteriorated in numbers. But the good news is, because we are coming out of this crisis, the 83% of the market is supporting the entire country burden, if I were to use that word, and we are at 102% of the total inquiries and orders
Okay.
as compared to last month, which means that I'll be hopefully better than last month. But in terms of orders and inquiries, this is fine. But the retail sentiment is something that we cannot. I may be interested in buying a vehicle. I may be able to, connect with the dealer to, book that vehicle. But do I really need to bring that vehicle home today, or I need to wait for, some more time? So that is what is happening. The delivery time between the order to delivery is taking a little extra because the customer needs to be thoroughly convinced that he needs to get the car in today.
Yeah.
He's ordered it, he's booked it,
There's no
but
rush.
he's not picking it up. So
Yeah.
those kind of things are happening. But if you compare it to last year, yes, there is still a way to go in terms of the total numbers. If you compare it to last year, the same numbers look like 90% of the inquiries have been reached as compared to last year. 70% of orders have been reached. But retail point of view, 60 to 65%, we are still hovering around there.
Okay.
So better than last month, but still lower than. So it's
Sure.
the famous half full or half empty kind of a scenario.
Always got to
What
see
do
it
you
as
see?
half full, right? Just always. I mean, at least
Obviously,
that's,
we want to see it
yeah,
more than half full, 60% full as of now. Yeah.
that's my philosophy. And actually, I have to say that 60-65% is way better than what some of the other manufacturers are facing. So I think that is the strength of the Toyota brand as well.
Thank
Lots
you.
of questions are already coming in, and in fact, you might want to say hello. We have a pretty big live audience already
Hi.
with us. Uh,
Hi, everybody.
so thank you guys. I can see a lot of questions here, and as expected, Naveen San, it is going to be product dominated.
No
So while
worries,
I
no
thought
worries.
I'll slowly build up to that, I'm going to get straight to it because the question from Aditya is about the Corolla Altis. The question from hold on, I think it was Feroz who wanted to know about any possible revival for the Etios and Leva. I know BS6 has some role to play here, and then of course new model cycles have some role to play here, as the case may be. We were just, while you were speaking, I was browsing through your website on the screen for the sake of everyone else, and I'll do that again, in fact. And if you see the current product lineup, obviously those two models are not there. So give us a sense of where we stand on that.
Okay, as far as Altis is concerned, with a heavy heart, we had to, say sayonara to Altis at the beginning of this financial year, and we are very sorry about that. But actually speaking, the market trends is something that dominates and determines, how we
Yeah.
can manufacture and what we should manufacture in the country. So that was one issue. Regarding the Ethos and Leva, it has been, as you know, there are two plants, plant one and plant two. The plant two is basically the plant where we manufacture. We used to manufacture the Ethos and Leva, and now currently it's the RS and the other passenger cars. So basically, we had to free up capacity for getting in newer products, more exciting products. So I forget the name of the gentleman who asked me this question, but I can be assuring him that this is being done for your benefit. I know these are products which have been loved and taken care of by the customers, and I'm sure that's why they are requesting us to rewind the clock and then go back to those products. But yes, there are exciting times and there are exciting products coming from Toyota.
Now, you can't say things like that and expect me not to say, what are you freeing capacity for? I mean, come on.
Yeah, we will talk about this. I'm sure this is not the first and last time that we are discussing these issues. So
Yeah.
I think the only thing is that we have to be ready with what details that we need to be putting it out in the public domain, etc. And we need to be ready, because if I talk of something which is like a few years down the line, then I think it does not really make sense to the customer right now. That's the main thing that we'd like to highlight. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. And I guess, the reason why I also jumped on that is because you said you need to free the capacity, which means it's slightly more recent, hopefully. Sorry, slightly more imminent,
Yeah.
hopefully. Um,
If it is reaching that stage, surely we'll give you a call.
but can we expect something new on the product side this year, this calendar year, despite the
Uh,
delays caused by
let's
COVID?
see the festive time. We are planning for some excitement to come during the festive time. Yes, we are looking at. I know this is a time where only new products seems to be roaring in the market, but yes, we are watching the market, and festive time is always a good time to launch new products and new segments.
Okay. Now, there's been so much talk about move back towards personal mobility from shared mobility.
Yeah.
So, two questions stem out of that. Your more compact cars like the Glanza or the Yaris, are they seeing greater number of inquiries as opposed to the pre-COVID period? And does that put any pressure then from a fleet or a mobility perspective on your most popular cars like the Innova?
Okay, I'll answer to this in two parts. Ne? One is about the personal mobility space that you've spoken about, and one is in general the mobility
Yeah.
domain experience that we are trying to gather now. So, the first part is about personal mobility. Let me tell you for a fact that yes, customers are walking into the dealerships and they are asking which is the lowest price, Toyota that you have. Say Glanza, which is the lowest price, which is the lowest grade Glanza you got. No, this is the kind of discussions that are happening continuously at the dealership. So his interest is to make his or his people in the family safer. So what he's looking for is getting a car at the lowest possible price, so that he can move his family members from point A to point B for their daily chores. So now that becomes important for him or her. So that is why he's looking at this. And believe you me, when we do a deep dive into this, there were in Glanza life history. There were two phases. Once when we launched the car, during that period, we had a huge chunk of 50% plus customers who were first time Toyota buyers.
Hmm.
First time Toyota buyers. They didn't have a Toyota in the family, but they rushed to the showroom and they said, "Let me see how is this Glanza from Toyota." So that happened. In between, we saw that the usual trend is the father, daughter, or whatever, and the husband buys his Toyota for his wife because he's happy with the service provided by the dealerships, etc., etc. So from that point of view, there was a period where this percentage was going down, and the Toyota buyers were coming back, upselling or downselling in the family kind of, mostly downselling. So they were coming back into the post-COVID. Post-COVID, this trend is very similar to the launch period when we observed Glanza.
Right.
Again, 50 to 60% of the first-time Toyota buyers are walking into the showroom. That is a very important distinction that I want to draw to. Initially it was the initial draw of the product from Toyota, and now it is the personal mobility that is driving these customers. So obviously this makes a very strong case for people in the passenger car segment, obviously, and the spillover effect is also visible on the ERS currently. So this is what we are seeing. Now, to answer your second question on mobility per se, yes, it's a very interesting uh, enabler enabler that has happened because of COVID situation, which is the customers are preferring to use vehicles for transportation for a very objective reason. Car buying is otherwise a very emotional decision. But today, part of the customers are looking at it that I cannot hire how should I say, a mobility solution from a third party and move from point A to point B. These people who are hiring these vehicles. So that is not practical and possible, and because of the safety reasons. So what they are trying to say is at this point of time, is it okay?
point about the Yaris, and I think there was a question as well.
Yeah.
Um, Let me try and find that question. Basically, something about the facelift and when.
Yeah, I'll come to that. So sorry, I thought you were not able to listen to me. So the important thing that I'm trying to say is that because of this enabling factor, we have culled out a separate division within Toyota, which is called as Toyota Mobility Services Division, and
Mhm.
this division is providing mobility solutions for anybody and everybody.
Okay.
Now, if you need to hire a vehicle for say 6 months, okay, you can approach us. There will be a solution that will be given to you through any of our partners, including our financial arm of Toyota Financial Services. They also have a interesting product called Kinto. And otherwise, we have leasing and subscription as a growing segment of the market, mainly because of this growth in personal mobility, is
And
what I
that's
wanted to
across
inform
all
you.
model lines?
Mostly they are looking at passenger cars. Mostly. Leasing used to happen and continues to happen at the high end,
Yeah.
which is not different from what it used to happen, and that will continue. But that's at the high end of the market. But this leasing and subscription, mostly subscription at the low end, seems to be an exciting way to sell cars, if I can use that word, because
Okay.
I'm selling the car, somebody's buying it and then leasing it out to these people
Yeah.
for subscription. So that's a very interesting phenomena that is coming up.
So given
And
all
for that,
that,
we have nominated a few people to work on that
right.
business model.
But given all that, Naveen San, then are you worried about the pressure it puts on the Innova because that doesn't seem to fit into what you just spoke, and obviously it was your big bread and butter model, and today I can understand the market is very different. Only in the short term, I accept, but in the short term, does it put pressure?
See, Innova has many customers and many types of usage for the product. There's a personal
Yes.
segment, there's an institutional buyer, there is a taxi buyer, etc., etc. So yes, there is. If you want to ask a very usage of the vehicle going down, the taxi buyer is actually asking us this question: what do I do with this car now? I need to have this car running because the car runs and I earn.
Yeah.
That's the basic philosophy. So now, if that is not happening, and therefore he's not buying that segment, which used to be about 15% to 20% of our total sales, yes, is impacted. The answer is yes, it is impacted. But at the same time, personal segments, where people are coming forward and they are looking for, safety and hygiene, and, large cars do provide those things. So we are now coming out with COVID packages, such as,
Right.
separators and ionizers, which would be given as, a safety mechanism for the customer to drive.
Okay, that's fair and that's
Yeah,
understandable. There is, of course, there's a whole lot more questions coming as well. But
sure.
in fact, let me get to one of those questions before I jump in with my own.
Yeah.
There's a question from Elite Design which talks about the launch of a CNG model of the Yaris, and there was another question earlier which I was trying to get at about a possible facelift. Can we expect some kind of changes or updates on the Yaris?
Design uplift on Yaris, and the second one is
Whether there's a
uh,
CNG
CNG on the Innova, right? These
on
are
the
the
Yaris, on the Yaris, CNG on the
on
Yaris.
the Yaris. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, Yaris. Okay, so as far as these product improvements or product changes is concerned, I'm very sorry. Once we are ready with the details, then we'll come back to you and we'll boldly announce those changes. But at this moment, Yaris is a very fresh model, so we are not looking at any design changes for the Yaris. I think that is my answer to them. And as far as CNG is concerned, once we are in a position to announce any new product offerings, definitely we'll come back to you.
All right, that's fair. In the case of what we have seen on this sort of new buy or change in the market, uh, this point about subscription leasing, these new models that are coming in, would you believe that now once people get a hang of it and they experience it more and more, that it's all here to stay and it could possibly change the market
I
itself going
firmly,
forward?
I firmly believe so because see, as I said, initially public was buying a car for a very emotive reason. After the house, it's the car. So it was a very, very close to my heart kind of a decision. But once they realize, that this is also finally at the end of the day, means of transportation from point A to point B, and it gives you freedom and it gives you, choice of moving around whenever you want, wherever you want. So from that point of view, and you look at the developed markets, why is leasing not so popular in India as compared to, say, a US or any other developed markets? There it is 30%. Here we are struggling to even gain 3% of the market. You know, so the basic differences, and this 3% is also dominated by, the people who come from overseas and say, why do I need to buy a car? Why can't I rent a car? Why can't I lease a car? So those are the customers primarily driving the leasing market. That is current condition. But believe you me, because once you get used to this environment, that yes, this car can provide me the convenience, and I can even, there are packages that the manufacturers and the others people are launching, every year you can change your car, for example. So under the same leasing program, you buy a car with me from a leasing partner, and then take one car for the first year, second car for the second year, third car for the third year.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a flexibility being offered. So I think this enabling factor will lead to some shift in the mobility patterns going in the future.
Okay.
I agree to that.
Fair enough. And one of the things that came out even in our car and bike survey,
Yeah,
which we revealed a few weeks ago, is
yeah.
that despite all of this, and of course, people will look for maybe not spending as much as they otherwise would. They will, of course, look for more compact vehicles. But okay, we got cut off there, and I am back now. So I hope some of you are still with us, and we're gonna, as you can hear, try and get Naveen San back. All right, we've got you back.
Hi, all right.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
The downsides of doing this live.
I was keeping my fingers crossed that doesn't happen at my end, but unfortunately, it happened
Murphy's
at your end.
Murphy's law, right? I mean, there's
Yeah,
no
Murphy's Law.
escaping
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But okay, I know we were talking about. I was getting into the SUV space, but before I go there, I want to quickly just touch upon one last thing about the Yaris. So we have been we've been given this sort of information. Let's say that there is a facelift debut on the 25th of July. So can you give me something on that? Which is not far. I mean, that's literally 2 days away. So
25th of July, what is that?
that you have a press event where you would have this new product debut. So
Oh, no, 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 no. 25th of July, which is 3 days from
yeah,
now? No, no,
yes.
no, 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 no. There's nothing like that. We will be coming back to you as and
Oh, I
when
don't.
there is
No, no, I
any
don't mean.
information. As no, no.
I don't mean in India. I mean global debut of the Yaris facelift.
Honestly, I think I'll need to check on this, but not that I'm aware of.
Okay, fair
Sorry,
enough.
I,
No,
I
no,
am
no,
not
no,
aware of
no,
this.
no
Yeah.
worries. I get back to that point about SUVs because
Yeah, that is
it's
happening. I think as far as India is concerned, I think we have just launched this car 2 years back, so I think
there's still
we
time.
have still some time to go
Yeah.
for. I know.
Fair enough. Okay, so
Yes.
the point about SUVs, the fact that the love for SUVs keeps growing, it remains the highest growing segment, whether it is the subcompact or the compact. There has been a lot of talk about your partnership with Maruti Suzuki. I mean, the Glanza is one product there. The Vitara Brezza based product is expected, which was again made public. I won't ask you for when that's coming and what you're calling it and stuff like that. But the need for more and more SUVs in your portfolio, surely like every other OEM, you see it too. How are you looking to address that?
Well, thanks to our bandwidth that we have at our head office, starting from Land Cruiser, going down to other products that we are already playing with in the Indian car market. So I think there are many SUV products that we can bring to. And I think the most important thing is that we would like to, reinforce this because from a consumer point of view, from a customer point of view, if you were to look at it, yes, the customer is preferring to step inside SUVs of a similar size. Now there is a A class SUV, there's a B class SUV, there's a C class SUV. So there are so many body types within SUVs also that are emerging. And all of this is basically led from the consumer's choices, and his interest to move from passenger cars to, SUVs. So yes, we are also monitoring this, and at suitable times we will come out with product announcements of the same. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I mean, obviously there's so much news that keeps coming in globally, and today we are a more um, connected than ever before world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
a lot of people, in fact, we got questions from Nilesh and a bunch of others who were asking about cars like the Corolla Cross that has recently
Okay.
been shown. There has been a lot of anticipation around that. I
Okay.
know that at no point are you going to be able to confirm to me that yes, it's coming or no, it's not coming. But vehicles like that, the fact that you're taking a Corolla nameplate again into that SUV space, it just indicates what's happening globally. The fact that people are more and more interested in that body type. Um,
Definitely.
for
Definitely.
India, does it become interesting because it's also ASEAN that's kind of leading this development, so it becomes more akin to what's happening here?
Yes and no to that, because if you say why I say yes is because yes, this phenomena is common to India also, where SUVs are gaining traction and SUVs are becoming more and more popular within the country also. But no, because India, I have worked in the Singapore market also. I was stationed there at the headquarters also. So I used to always tell them, I said, India seems to be an island within this entire Asia region,
Right.
because the choices that we make, I think if you look at it from that point of view, we are more European inclined. What happens in Europe, and the kind of product choices that we make, etc., etc., are more coming from there. So yes and no. Definitely, SUVs are gaining traction, but at the same time, the choices of the consumers are more driven by style and such aspects which are more dominated in European markets. Yeah.
Okay, but the point is that if not something like the Corolla Cross, because like you said, that's more ASEAN centric, then what about cars like the CHR? I mean, there's been a lot of discussion around it,
Yes.
a lot of speculation. People have launched it also for you, I think, a few
It is very
times.
interesting product actually. It's a
It's a
very
very nice
interesting
looking
product,
car
and
and it
we
drives really well. I've driven it, so
yes, I'm
drives
sure.
really
I'm
well.
sure. And it is always a hybrid also. So,
Yes.
so I think that attracts us even more. So, from that point of view, yes, it is. These are the kind of products, and as I said, the strength of my headquarters is very deep, and they have a bandwidth, and we continuously study the various kinds of segments, etc., markets, etc. But very sorry, at this stage, we are not in a position or deny anything that we are under study.
Sorry, I lost the last part of what you were saying.
I said because it's not possible for me to either confirm or deny anything that is
Fair enough.
under study. So that's where I'm coming from. Yeah.
All right, that's fair. There was a question from Nitish about, he says, Hi Naveen San, what can be the EV penetration in India in the next 2 or 3 years? Please give your views.
Well, as we've been saying this, we like the term electrified vehicles versus electric vehicles.
Hmm.
Electric vehicles of our electrified vehicles are of three or four types. Depending on the range of electrification that you have implemented in these cars. They can start from as low as a mild hybrid, going to a strong hybrid, to a plug-in hybrid, to electric vehicle, or even hydrogen fuel powered vehicle. So there are various types, but there are three components which are common: battery, motor, and controller. These are things that we've been telling the government here also, that for a very long time, that if we are able to localize these things in the country, then what will happen is, irrespective of what you want to make out of them, if you want to put a larger battery, it'll become a battery electric vehicle. You want a smaller battery and combine that with the engine, then it'll become a hybrid car. If you want to have a kind of a slightly bigger battery, which can also run for a more longer period, then it becomes a plug-in hybrid. Or if you need the fuel cell vehicle, then that also requires these three main components. So if we have these three components in common, and then we are able to do this, I think the future, without a doubt, is electrified rather. Okay. So from that point of view, I think we will see more and more electrified vehicles on the roads, because fuel point of view, there's a limitation to how much we can dig the earth in terms of taking out the petroleum and crude oil. So from that point of view, also this energy will shift, and it will get more and more electrified.
All right. There was a nice question from Sriram,
Hmm.
which is about, and again, I'll only give him the disclaimer that you're not going to give us a direct answer. But the point is an interesting one, I think. He says, can we expect a product in the micro SUV segment, to take on cars like the HBX or even the Mahindra KUV? While I know you'll not give me an answer to that per se, when it comes to the SUV space, I mean, these cars are all called SUVs. Let's face it, a lot of them are not really SUVs. I mean, they're not capable of off-roading, etc. But it's the body shape and style. Let's accept that. We call somebody calls it crossover, we'll call it SUV. Um, Micro, which is now this new emerging segment in the market, cars like the Espresso or whatever. Um, then, of course, you have the subcompacts, which are booming. We already spoke about that, the Vitara Brezza segment. And then you have the
Yeah.
compacts, which are, the Creta and Seltos, that segment, uh, which is obviously, traditionally now for the last 2 years has been the highest growth segment in the market, followed only
Mm.
by the subcompact SUV. If you have to direct your attention, I know that the simple answer is that, hey, we have to look at everything. But if you have to say that, okay, we know we can't do all three at once, what becomes the most interesting to you? Because so far we've seen that Toyota has always played it very smart. They've always may not have gone after large volumes, but has always gone after a very good, solid business plan in terms of margins, in terms of making sure that the product that you launch has a sort of a space for itself. So what can we expect from you when it comes to SUVs?
Thank you so much for
Long
your
question,
kind
sorry.
words on on Toyota. I think we are always looking for those white spaces which exist, and where we can even within the segment create a space for ourselves in terms of what does Toyota SUV stand for, whether it is a micro, whether it is a ASUV, or what you call a subcompact or a compact, or a C segment SUV, which is the Innova. So I think we are looking for these white spaces, and in a way, yes, it helps us identify the customer needs within the same segments. Also, there are people who are looking. There are various types of people who are buying the kind of products. Somebody is very functionally driven. He's only looking at it as an off-road performer. Somebody is looking at it from the style statement that he wants to make. So there is another set of customers. So each one is type, basically that's how it works. But if we can identify and create a niche within the segment which belongs to us, between us and the customer, and the second most important thing is, if he's a Toyota buyer, if his needs can be enhanced by this product, he believes that his younger brother also should be driving a Innova. Customer thinks that his younger brother also should be driving a subcompact, then we will come out with those kind of products, and then look at the enhancing the customer who's already a loyal Toyota customer.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. A
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
people, I mean, I know that you've already addressed this, but I just want to acknowledge these people who are asking these questions.
Sure.
A lot of people are asking questions about, facelifts on different product lines that you currently have. So, guys, I just want you to know that if you're just joining in, we've already talked about that with Naveen San, and he's not going to tell you. Simple answer is that.
That's
But
not fair, but it's
no,
okay.
I
We'll
know
let
I'm paraphrasing. I'm being a little bit, you know, clever about that. But no,
experience.
that was not the intent. I think it's fair to ask, and it's fair for you to say that, hey, look, wait, give us the chance to let you know when we're ready. So that's
Yeah,
basically the point. So for
yeah.
Harsha, Raghavendra, many of you have asked about cars like Fortuner or Innova, and even the Yaris facelift. That's
No,
the
but
answer.
so kind of
So
these customers, or the intenders who are considering Toyota for their car purchase, we really thank them from the bottom of our heart, and we keep on studying these requirements. Thank you so much, guys.
okay, now in that premium sort of space, because Toyota does occupy a slightly more premium position than some of the other brands, especially because of the kind of products that you have launched. Yes, the Etios was your big mass product, but otherwise, you've always had that sort of tag attached to you. The Wellfire
Yeah.
got off to a good start. Of course, it was always going to be a niche product because it is so high end and premium. And yes, a lot of that would have got dented with what's happening right now, the lockdowns and shutdowns. But on the whole, what is the sense that you've got? Because it was a bit of a gamble, right? Bringing a car like that, nobody expected you to do it. And you already have an Innova, which is already seen as, sort of the premium MPV. What has the response to the Wellfire been?
Uh, it was very interesting, to bring that product and sell that product in the country, because it takes the level of luxury and comfort to a very, very, very high level. Somebody who's used to first class luxury, travel luxury, then he Once you sit inside the vehicle and you travel long distances, I think it becomes your natural automatic choice. There's so many places where we because of the impact of the lockdown, as you see, the COVID impact was that there was a big dent in the consumer sentiment, but still that segment was very strong with us, and we are so happy that even some of the orders who have been waiting with us for a very long time because of our supply issues that were coming up in the initial period are continue to wait for us to supply them the car at their very earliest. Yes, there are some sentiment changes. I don't deny that, but at the same time, yeah, customers have those who bought the car. I can tell you for a fact that one car generates at least 4 or 5 inquiries
Hmm.
comfortably. All it takes is a 15-minute ride in the car, and people will ask nothing but the car. I have had people who are my own dealers who say that it's been 2 months and I'm still discovering the car. So that is the kind of the luxury that it provides, the comforts that it provides, space that it provides. That people continue to love that vehicle, and then every other car in the garage takes the back seat, and this is the preferred choice for mobility.
Okay. A question that's come in from Sandeep. Hi, Naveen San. Since the Etios Cross had a widespread sales success, got sold because of the Toyota engine on board, why not upgrade it? I'm assuming to be S6 with also better interiors, since it can still hold up as a great competitor to the i20.
Sorry, the question was on which product of ours?
Etios Cross.
Etios Cross. Okay. So I think it is part of the Etios family. Sorry, guys, to say that that we like to offer you a better product. So for those customers who were looking at Cross as a typical crossover customers, from that point of view, yes. We will be considering various options. We have the so-called the TRD range, as you know, which actually
Yeah.
enhances the appeal of the vehicle, and I think we will be looking at that also, and also Gazoo racing. These are things that actually do give that pep up to the product in terms of the design quotient, and also from the kind of customers that I think he belongs to. So if he's looking at the Cross, there are many interesting, exciting options coming from Toyota. Please be patient. Thank you.
But when you say the TRD or the Gazoo or these kind of options that you currently have, do you mean that on the existing products or do you mean that on an all new product as well?
Existing as well as new products.
Okay.
Because see, when you're talking about Gazoo racing, that's a separate stream by itself. In terms
Yeah.
of getting various products from Japan, and also looking at options for adopting those things on the existing product lineups. Also, the both are realities that can be exercised here.
Okay. Now, I, I hate to sort of keep coming back to the same thing, but there are just so many questions and comments that are still coming. One of
Hmm.
the things that I can say is that, there are, let's say, three clear areas where people are asking questions. And they're
Yeah.
all SUV dominated again, so which is why I'm saying I can't believe I'm coming right back to SUV.
No, no
Um,
worries. Yeah.
so I know that, and I promise you this is not a trick question. I know that you can't tell us about what's coming, but you've acknowledged that it's a space you're looking at. So I'm happy with that. But RAV4, 4Runner, uh, Corolla Cross, and then I, of course, came in with CHR. From your
Cheers.
personal perspective, understanding the Indian market as you do, and then your own personal sensibilities, what's the hottest car for you out of those four?
Well, personally, I like the CHR very much.
Hmm.
This is a very personal comment. When I
Yeah,
when I first saw it, I was very moved. I said Toyota could come out with a design which actually goes that dhak dhak wakudoki feel that we wanted to give. But that's a very personal comment, since you are asking me on a personal basis. But
absolutely.
yes, each product has its own utility, and from market point of view, we have to
Hi,
see
have you
the right
always
balance
wanted?
between where we can place the product. Yeah.
All right. And, the reason I, of course, brought it up is because I see that as the ideal segment, the size. I mean, something like a
Sure.
4Runner is much bigger, and something like even a RAV4 becomes now, I think, the current new generation context becomes bigger. Though, of course, the hybrid card is very interesting there. Uh,
Yes.
there has been again so much talk about how hybrids and maybe greener vehicles like EVs will perhaps now start to get a little bit more of customer interest than the past because of the kind of situation we're in. Right? Everybody wants something that's now clean and green and more sustainable and more responsible. That's one of the outcomes of this COVID crisis as well. Um, I know that we've asked you this question for so many years now that it's become like an inside joke about whether there'll be some massive policy changes. Will the government do anything for hybrids? But this customer sentiment part, do you think that could drive that change now, since it's not going to be just industry asking for it?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Sorry. So I think what we have to understand is which space will kind of hybrid move into the marketplace. From that point of view, if I were to answer that question, as we know, we had a petrol segment and there is a diesel segment. Each product class had a ratio which was upset because of various market changes. But look at it this way: the BS6 adoption for the diesel was a much bigger cost addition than as compared to the petrol BS6 adoption.
Yeah.
So from that point of view, the BS6 on the diesel had to have a cost up which is much higher as compared to the petrol. Now, if this happens, then it comes very close to what the hybrid should offer, provided we can do it locally.
Hmm.
If I'm importing these kits from somewhere across the globe, then I think it may be having a issue. But if we can do this locally, and our intention and attempt is to do this locally, if we can do this locally, localization of the battery, motor, controller, the three things that I spoke to you about earlier also, then I think it is very easy that the price at which the hybrid will sell and the BS6 actually should sell, because currently the BS6 prices are controlled, so to say, because manufacturers are taking that call that one big jump up will deter the market. So from that point of view, then it becomes a very similar comparison. So petrol, and this is what we've seen in Europe also. Why? Because of different reasons, diesel became unpopular there, and then the end result was that hybrid has started to take that space.
Hmm.
So we foresee that, and the benefits from cafe point of view, fuel efficiency point of view, environment point of view, and also speed and noise point of view, hybrid takes the cake. And that's why it's close to our heart.
Yeah, I like that. And it has been, right? I mean, for several years. And honestly, I think, here I think we're all preaching to the choir, because we completely echo those sentiments that hybrid also gives you this great step into pure electric. And so,
Sure.
it's a great way
Yeah.
to introduce the market to all of this. Um, and in any market where it has done really well, it's always done so through huge incentives. And so,
Okay.
honestly, one can't understand why the government won't see that and help, because it helps the environment too. Uh, I won't get into that controversy or try and
No, no,
get into the
it's not
politics
that
of
we
it.
are looking for incentives or offers or subsidies on that front. No. If you read our request correctly and appropriately, we're just saying go back to pre-GST era. GST was not supposed to be a transformational tax, yes, but it was not supposed to be. It was just to be aggregating all the taxes that the customer was paying at different touch points, and then accumulate them together and say this is the final GST that you will be paying. Suddenly, when you find hybrids getting additional compensation cess or whatever that is called, which is in addition to the base duties, so as compared to pre-GST era where we were falling in about 28% at the best. In Delhi-like condition, it was even lower than this 28%. But let's leave that aside for a while. And if it is the pre-GST era, then I think the case is
Yeah.
done for us. We are not asking for any subsidies. Yeah.
And the advantage is that you have taken the lead, in the sense that there has been that joint investment with or three-way investment that's happened in Gujarat for the battery plant. Um, Products that start to carry all of this. I'm not going to ask you which model, what segment,
Mm,
but products with
mm,
this technology, which is hybrid, which is or uses those batteries, let's say, in whichever format, and
mm.
which is obviously locally made, so therefore a little bit more attractive in terms of accessibility. Uh, how soon? What's the earliest we can see them on our roads?
I think roughly as a ballpark figure, 1 or 2 years, I think we should see more and more hybrids
Okay.
hitting the Indian roads, would be my sense of the situation. Now, I'm not talking purely as a Toyota person. I think uh, each manufacturer is defining their ways, how to meet the CAFE regulations, which are waiting for us. So obviously, and they are getting stricter on fuel efficiency measurements. So there is a benefit of adopting
Sure.
technology like hybrid, because obviously it gives you a leapfrog advantage over traditional IC engine. Half the time it's running on electric mode, So obviously, it is not requiring the engine to run. So both on emissions as well as fuel efficiency, both cases, it definitely is a big plus. So therefore, I think I would imagine that more and more manufacturers, you can see this when you read the papers or read magazines. Everybody talking about various ways to secure energy security for the nation. And cafe is a big driver, and I think from that point of view, it should help.
Okay, and
That's
the
what
good part,
2 3 years. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and the good part here is that seeing that your partnership here is with Suzuki, um, you know, two brands which we know can really sort of really address a large chunk of the market, and so as a result, hopefully the conversions and even what other manufacturers do, it might accelerate that process. Let's just say that's at least our hope. Do you agree?
Yes, the Glanza has been such a good example for where both manufacturers I think have benefited because we are able to sell and increase the total share of the pie. And obviously, that is a customer that naturally has come to us, as I said. Then he has liked what he's seen at the showroom, and then he's bought it. Otherwise, people were skeptical when we were launching that car last year that
Yeah.
whether it will be a success or no. But 25,000 cars on the road in 1 year, I think is a good start, I would say.
No, but I mean, what I'm saying is even specific to hybrid or specific to
I
electric
know.
in the future,
So I was just
that
saying that
becomes
this was a
even
test
bigger.
case for this
Oh, sure,
collaboration.
sure.
Yeah, and now more
Yeah.
and more things that can happen through this collaboration will only enhance this uh, collaboration for both sides.
All right. Now, there was a nice question that I had earlier. I think it was from Shams. It says, hang on, let me find it. Are you getting more buyers for used cars as well, the authorized ones? Is there a renewed focus on Toyota you trust?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's a very good question. Must thank him for that. But I think these are again driven by the same need. So please understand the customer side. Why this is happening? This is
Yeah.
happening is a given. But why this is happening? I want personal mobility requirement, but I don't have a flexibility of buying a new car because a new car means much more. So there is a customer who approaches us and say, guys, you have a used car section. Can I get a you trust certified vehicle? And there it goes. So mobility needs are growing, but the economic needs are still the same. So the options are going to getting either you step down and buy a entry level car or buy a used car.
Now, one question that keeps coming up, and I hear this from so many people when they ask us
Yeah,
about Toyota, and I'm sure you hear it too. And today, by the way, a couple of people have asked it as well.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think Tejas asked the same question.
Mm,
Globally, Toyota is such a powerhouse. There is such a wide portfolio of products. In India,
mm.
we haven't quite seen a reflection of that. And while, we've seen little sort of starts to it where we've suddenly said, oh, wow, now finally it's looking more and more populated, this showroom.
Sure.
Then again, it's kind of stepped back, like has happened now with BS6 and some
Yeah,
of the products
yeah,
going offline that we spoke about. Um,
yeah.
at what point can we expect Toyota India to be a reflection of Toyota, the global powerhouse, in terms of product portfolio and variety?
I think one thing you have to understand is that being a Japanese organization such as Toyota, we know that we put firm steps. Whenever we put steps, we put firm steps. So obviously, there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of preparation that goes behind the scenes in terms of putting a product on the roads. But once having put that, then there is no looking back. So from that point of view, we are not how should I say this? Unhappy with the condition that that so whatever products, like you also said, they create a niche for themselves. They become the segment identifiers, and then the market takes off from there. And then we move on to the next car. So that's how we progress. And for us, it's not really such a big issue that number of products that we are selling, but as long as we are able to sell to a satisfied, happy Indian customer, that's more important.
But you would at some point see Toyota becoming that end-to-end sort of brand for India. I won't say when, but
Sure, sure. I think, yeah, we would like to, come to that stage at the earliest. We are moving towards it, and inshallah, sooner than later, we should be reaching there.
I will hope so too. And it just gives us more products to test and drive. So I'll always take that. You know that, I
Sure,
think about me.
sure, surely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
as we start to sort of, to sort of wrap this up, one of the things we've seen, which is very interesting, is that Toyota, for all its, um, let's say, past and history and culture of being Japanese and, taking slow yet steady steps, We've also seen some really aggressive moves from Toyota in the past few years, especially globally. We've seen interesting partnerships like Toyota and BMW. Toyota and Suzuki, of course, is one that affects us more directly. Um, each of these partnerships has had a very specific purpose behind it. It's not just one done for cost reasons or not just one done for the sake of efficiency of scale and stuff like that. It's always had this very clear strategy behind it, which is great. And I think most people have appreciated that. Going forward, do you see both for Toyota an increased number of such partnerships and then globally for all OEMs? I mean, do you see it slowly moving towards that, not just as pressures build on business, but as customers also become more and more demanding?
I think if you remember, I was looking at the books behind you, but I couldn't find the Philip Kotler there. But if you read Kotler, then Kotler says that, intense
Yeah.
competition brings collaboration.
Yes.
So I think that is something that we have to. Oh, sorry, that's Michael Porter, not Kotler. So he said that that intense competition brings collaboration and finally leads to market getting more and more synergized to the customer needs. So I think this is what is happening now. This is not specific to Toyota because I'm not in a position to comment about as you said, yes, each collaboration has had a role to play and it has been in that segment. Sorry, in that space, trying to solve that problem. But more importantly, I think this is true for any product category, any market category. Differentiations start to disappear, and then collaborations are the next step to bring scale and more competitiveness. And that is what I guess we'll see in the automotive space also.
All right. There are some questions that have come as a flurry, so I'm going to quickly ask those before we wrap this up so that I'm not
No,
unfair to them. Arun asks, we can go through them one by one. Arun says, can we see small cars from Toyota apart from the Suzuki cars? I mean the original Toyota models.
mm-hmm.
Will we see small cars?
Small. Well, whatever comes from Toyota will be Toyota's. Is my answer to him, because when we sell a car, we put our name and fame behind this, and we make sure that that whatever value systems that we believe in is exactly what the customer gets when he buys the car from us. So yes, we have a portfolio in the small car segment also, and we when I say we means I'm talking purely as Toyota, but this collaboration opens up a lot more opportunities and avenues, which is where we are looking at currently.
All right. Next question's from Raju Joseph. Toyota cars in India badly need latest connectivity and infotainment like Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Any plans to bring this into the current lineup? I know you have that on some, but
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for this. I think yes, it's a very valid point that consumers like Mr. Raju are making because I think we know that there is more and more seamless transition when I move from my house to my car to my office. I want the same gadget to be playing through and through. So obviously, yes, there are more and more efforts that have been put in, and I think he'll be happy to see the future product lineup, including the current product upgrades.
all right. So that then I think brings me to the sort of final question in a sense. So I'm sure you'll be relieved. The
No, no, it's always a pleasure. Don't worry. It's always a pleasure.
uh, difficult year, one that nobody could have foreseen. And so obviously a lot of plans have got shifted, they've got cancelled, delayed, whatever. And this is across the board, right? Not just for you. Given all of that, and given the fact that now you've had a few months to take stock of how to approach all of this, uh, before the festive season comes, you've said that we'll have some product action from your side. But can we expect this to then, at least in the second half of this year, be a sort of a normal year in terms of bringing new products, keeping that excitement? Because as you yourself said, new products seems to be the only thing that drives the market today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I think more important, we have to see, yes, of course, from a manufacturer's point of view, yes, the push that you can, or the fuel that you can add to the market is by getting new cars and new products, which actually motivates the customer to come out of his house and then, look at these products. But I think what we have to also understand is the market needs to normalize. If you ask me honestly, what will change? I think what we are discussing now in the papers is about the vaccine, and I was so glad to read today about, the government is trying to make logistical arrangements, make sure that the vaccine reaches every nook and corner of this country, large country rather. So from that point of view, the market sentiment needs to improve. I mean, the government, as you know, has been doing very much positive, many things from their point of view. But I think the most important thing is the demand stimulus.
Hmm.
If you can create the demand stimulus, the customer mindset today, as I told you earlier also, the orders may be at 95%, orders and inquiries. But if my retails are at 60%, why is this gap? Why is a customer booking a car and not taking a delivery? Because he does not feel the need to bring the new car in this environment home.
Yeah.
That's the point, and that needs to change, and that of course medically will change once the vaccine appears. Second thing is the demand stimulus that can be created in the market and in other markets also. Wherever there was a such a crash that happened, whether it's the Lehman Brothers shock or whatever, it is primarily the governments of the countries that have actually taken the leadership and demand stimulus, and that's what we are expecting. So once that happens, and with the new products that come in, I think it will be a big bonanza
All
waiting
right.
for us.
I
Yeah.
mean, we're all hoping that that does happen because
Hopefully,
we're
yeah.
hoping that the
Because I mean,
government does this.
everybody's waiting for it. Yeah.
Yes. I promised that was the last one. I'm going to sneak in one more. It's a nice question that's come from Session.
Right.
So this I promise will be the last one. Globally,
That's,
Toyota is gearing up to launch the new generation Land Cruiser. Will the brand return to India?
uh, sorry, I didn't get the name of the person who asked this question.
Session.
Sheshan. Sheshan, I must tell you that your customer requests like these, keep on make us discussing with our headquarters, and I think we are not giving up that product, and definitely in some form, shape, size, you will see that product coming back.
It's a huge,
That's the only
huge
affirmative
brand.
answer I've given in this session, is it?
That's a great answer, by the way. I'm grinning from ear to ear, as you can see. Because yes, that's a good confirmation. But no, but that brand, I mean, it evokes emotion, and it's again such a powerful brand for you, uh,
Absolutely, absolutely.
globally, and obviously has so many things that get associated with it in terms of capability and luxury and everything. So so it's good to know it's coming back.
It's the ultimate test for the product that can sustain any environment. If you go to the Middle East, they say they swear by it, because if you had a problem with the car in the Middle East in the desert at 47 degrees outside, and if you have to be there for 6 hours, it's a matter of life and death. So they can't take a chance. So obviously, that reliability that the product gives is something that is amazing. And sorry for sounding a bit, confident, overconfident, but that's thanks to our engineers who've been working overtime to, make these products so reliable. And we are happy, that our customers like Sishan are waiting for these products, and we'll never disappoint them.
No, that car has certainly spoken for itself over the last so many
Definitely,
generations, and clearly the new one, there'll be that much more anticipation around it because it is new.
definitely.
So can't wait to see it. Hope we get to drive it soon because I know these days everything is off, but I'm itching to get back to all of it. So as I'm sure you are.
Right.
But this has been great. I think like I said, we've been wanting to do this with you for a while, so I'm very happy you came on the
Nice.
show today.
Thank you so much. Yeah. It was always a pleasure to speak to you, and the kind of insights that. Yeah, one thing I must tell you, when we kind of understand the customer expectations, it is something that actually gives us so much more insight into the market. Because it's one thing to read presentations and reports and things
Yeah.
like that, but once you kind of hear this direct voice, I think it's a great insight into what the consumers are thinking. And thank you so much to you, and to your all your readers, and people who are asking these questions, which keeps us on our toes. Thank you so much.
I totally echo that, and which is what I think we've always been about at CNB. It's always about trying to get people, their opinions out so that even we can
Absolutely,
give them the information that they need. I appreciate that. I'm
absolutely.
glad that when somebody notices. So thank you. And
Thank you.
again, thanks for your time. Please stay safe. Please pass on
You
our
too.
best to you and to your family and your teams. And can't wait to
Thank you.
meet you in person.
Thank you. Hope to see you soon sometime. Bye.
All right. Thank you again. That
Bye.
was Mr. Naveen Soni from Toyota Kirloskar Motors speaking to us about a wide range of things. We spoke about, of course, what's happening in the market today, but more importantly, also looked forward to the kind of products you might expect from Toyota going ahead. And, there is going to be a lot of product action, he promises. The most imminent will be something that happens before the festive season by way of updates or an all new model. I think it's a few hints that we've picked up from him, and you'll certainly get more details of all of this on carandbike.com. So you got to remember that all our latest videos, including interviews like this, but even our reviews, are very much on carandbike.com. So if you want to look at any of our previous interviews as well, you can by simply logging on to our YouTube page, or as many of you have right now, or you can simply go across and take a look at the old interviews that we've done on freewheeling on carandbike.com/freewheeling. So thank you all so much for joining me today. Thank you for your questions. I always love that. And we'll be back soon with another guest, and you will hear from us on that shortly as to who that is. And bye bye. Thanks for joining. Please stay safe. Please wear your masks. Please, please, please wear your helmets and your seat belts, as I always say. Bye bye.